Hello and welcome back to the channel. Not sure how this is going to go, but I am going to be doing a new type of video here, and that is, I guess you could call this segment Watch This, Not That. If you're looking for a legal comedy show, then these are two of your choices. Extraordinary Attorney Woo on Netflix versus She-Hulk on Disney+. Both feature a prominent female protagonist who has special abilities, and they both happen to be attorneys. But let's just say that the similarities diverge rapidly right there. Now, we could talk about She-Hulk, but a lot of people have talked about this already. I'll cover some highlights. So first of all, she got her superpowers because she was in, of course, a car wreck and Bruce's blood gets on her. And then we have the first episode where that's basically what happens, and she learns how to manage her powers. Of course, she's good at everything right away. And of course, in the first episode, every man we see is basically an incompetent male chauvinist. I don't know what else to say. Basically, that's it. Every man is painted with a negative stereotype. Next up, we have, and at the end, she has like a 10-second fight with Titania, and we still are 4 episodes in. We still really don't have any understanding of why that fight happened, other than Titania happened to be in traffic court. That's it. That's the extent of what we know. And yeah, we just have this lingering question out there. The second episode, Superhuman Law, we basically get, Jen gets unemployed because, of course, her boss has to fire her because, well, the jury is biased towards her now, and as a result, because she saved their lives in episode 1, as a result, the case got dismissed. Of course, it would just be retried with a new jury, so it's not really a loss. But for some reason, plot reasons, basically, her boss has to fire her. And of course, her boss is a man. And of course, Dennis is back, literally objectifying women by referring to them as it. So she gets hired by Holden Holloway, her new boss, for this superhuman law division, and of course he wants her to be She-Hulk all the time. Now, keep in mind that according to canon, she's supposed to be extremely confident when she's She-Hulk. But so far, what we see is that she's extremely, insecure when she's She-Hulk, which is a little weird. At least she is for a good portion of this show right here. And she's more comfortable, seemingly, when she's a human. Now that actually kind of seems to scan, but it's not how the character is written. When she's in her She-Hulk character, she's supposed to exude confidence. And I would think that maybe they just could have reversed it a little bit and have her, having some doubts about things when she was Jen, and having her be almost overconfident to a fault when she's She-Hulk. And then that could have been a weakness that they could have exploited and gone somewhere with, but of course they didn't. Then in next episode we have People versus Emil Blonsky. Basically, this episode is, a kind of it's kind of pointless. She acts as, attorney Jen, and she gets Emil Blonsky parole. Great. That's pretty much all that happens. Oh, and they present Wong as kind of foolish, which had me concerned that they were going to then go into the whole all men are fools stereotype, which they will definitely. I mean, they have pretty much with all of the other males in the show. So yeah, it seems to be where they're going. Now, there are a few exceptions like Holden Holloway, Jen's dad, and Bob Pug something, whatever. Anyways, the guy who calls himself Pug. That's really it. Then in the 4th episode, for, again, whatever reason, Wong, Sorcerer Supreme now, needs Jen's help to file an injunction against a guy who's a magician who is using a sling ring. I mean, if he's really the Sorcerer Supreme, this should pretty much be a slam dunk for him to handle, but for whatever reason, he decides to go through the courts, again, making no sense whatsoever, claiming that there is an imminent threat related to this guy's usage of the sling ring. And we actually do see him doing some pretty crazy stuff, and we see a woman basically gets portaled to some, alternate dimension and escapes. Luckily for her, somehow she just got lucky. In any case, I don't understand, again, why Sorcerer Supreme Wong needs Jen Walters' help in this. And in fact, he doesn't need her Hulk help, really, except for one brief scene where, again, he's the Sorcerer Supreme. I think he should have been able to handle it. But essentially, in the first 4 episodes, Jen doesn't need to use her She-Hulk powers. There was a few, short, 10 or 15-second scenes in, each show where she acts like She-Hulk. That's it. If you're looking for She-Hulk, this is not it. Simply not it. And like I said, she doesn't act the way the character has been portrayed. Not funny. Men are all dumb, stupid, incompetent, foolish, chauvinists. And that's pretty much the show in a nutshell. I would compare that to Extraordinary Attorney Woo. Yeah, this is actually a Korean courtroom, and it's kind of a drama and also kind of a comedy. Now, I actually really like this show. The sum of the backstory is that Extraordinary Attorney Woo is on the spectrum. She has a version of autism. Now, she has a version that allows her to still somewhat relate to people, but she still has some issues adapting and fitting in a normal society. And that's really what this is about. But her superpower in this case is the fact that she basically has all Korean law memorized. She knows all of it. It's all in her head. She has the ability to, basically read and memorize massive amounts of information. And this allows her to then recall this information and make connections that other people might not be able to make. And this allows her to come up with new and interesting legal approaches. And sometimes, she has basically a surprising revelation or a surprising new way to approach a particular case. So just to give you an idea of how much character development has happened in just, the 5 or 6 episodes of this show that I've seen, first up, I'll highlight the major characters and I'll tell you basically their backstory and who they are. We have Woo Young-woo. She is the attorney and savant that we've already talked about. Then we have Lee Jun-ho as a fellow attorney who is the law firm heartthrob, who all the women in the firm want to date, but who is actually interested in Woo Young-woo. Next up, we have Jung Myung-seok, which is Woo's supervisor, and I really like how this character is actually used to he's used to mentor and help not just Woo, but all of the junior attorneys, and he's used as a character that helps them develop. And this is all despite the fact that he is a man. And of course, this would not be allowed in Wokeywood. Next up, we have Woo Gwang-ho, which plays the dad. And we've seen his struggles as a dad raising Woo Young-woo. He's a single dad, so raising a little girl with autism as a single dad. We've seen some really touching moments there, and also some really funny moments there as he really helps his daughter navigate the real world and navigate situations, and he just gives her tips on interacting with people. Hey, talk about this, don't talk about this. One thing he tells her not to talk about is whales, because Woo Young-woo loves whales, and it's just one of those interesting things about her character. That's one of her quirks. She knows a lot of facts about whales, and she loves whales. One of the few things that she really puts her energy into outside of the law. Next up, we have Choi Soo-yeon, this character here, and she is another female junior attorney at the firm who competed actually against Woo at university and was always second place to Woo. Now, at first, she is kind of jealous, but there are also some touching moments between these two as well as she warms up to Woo, and that is in a couple of the episodes, namely the wedding dress, which was episode 2, and This is Peng Su, which is episode 3. We also have Kwon Min Woo. Now, he is basically Woo Young-woo's primary competition in the firm, and someone who generally doesn't like her, mostly because he kind of thinks that she's getting special treatment, or that's how he sees it. Now, partly this comes from the fact that he has trouble dealing with the fact that she is better than him in many ways, and he's a highly competitive person. So he begins trying to sabotage Woo in, I believe it's in this one called The Wild Card versus the Tactician, and that's where we find out his nickname, and we find out the nickname that he has given Woo Young-woo. So that's actually a very funny episode here, Wild Card versus Tactician. And yet there's a huge plot running through that episode about ethics as an attorney and what is right to do, and about winning at all costs. And that's a huge lesson in the show. And that's another thing about the show is there is an overarching lesson or an overarching message to pretty much each episode, and yet the details are woven into the storyline. They're woven into the specific details of each case and the situation around each case. And so each case is essentially a commentary on, some sort of societal issue. So it feels very organic. It feels very natural. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel lectured. There's none of that here. This is excellent storytelling and writing with excellent characters. Now, finally, we have Dong Gulami, who is Woo's best friend, and we've already seen how their friendship actually has developed, and their backstory in The Strife of the Three Brothers, which is episode 4. So basically, within the first 4 episodes, all the major characters have been laid out. We understand who they are, we understand their backstory, and we understand how each of them acts and why they act that way. And we've already seen some character growth. Each of them has a arc that they're taking, and they've already progressed through part of their arc, and we get to see that. Compare that to, of course, She-Hulk, where we don't really know the specifics of any character, and no character seems to have a arc or a character journey that they're taking other than Jen. And I would say she's stagnant in her own arc. She hasn't really progressed since episode 1. Not very much in any case. Now, granted, they're only 4 episodes in, and they are half-hour episodes if we're lucky. So there's been very little time for any of that, but that is not my fault. That is the fault of the writers and the fault of the showrunners, who really don't know how to use their time wisely to tell a story and show characters that are intriguing and entertaining and are unique and three-dimensional, and that have qualities to them that we want to know more about. An engaging story. Really, this is, if you're looking for a show about, again, a legal show with a drama and comedy, with a person who has basically a kind of like a superhuman power, of a different sort, then honestly, this is the better show. This is a fantastic show. I'm wondering, though, what is actually the score on this? I wonder if there is a Rotten Tomatoes score. Let me look that up. So I don't think it can be any more telling than this. If you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score for this show, it's 100% on the critics' score. And of course, it ticks all the boxes for them because, we've got an Asian woman, right, who has autism and has managed to largely overcome that issue. So from the critics' points, they're liking it because there's lots of check boxes for them. But for the audience side, there's actual genuine emotion, genuine drama, genuine comedy, and there's genuine issues that they're touching on. Like, for the most part, this show is drama and comedy, probably a little more lighthearted, a little more on the comedy side, but the dramatic moments are really there, and they will have you emotionally engaged. You'll be bought into this show from the word go. I mean, from the very beginning. Comparing that to She-Hulk, which has 4 episodes out now, I think it's also a bit of a known quantity too at this point. The score hasn't exactly changed a lot now that we've added several more episodes. And again, this is, well, basically crap in my opinion. And the audience score shows that. Now again, it ticks all those boxes for the critics, right? We have a female, and she's a superhero, and she's a lawyer, and she's all about the feminism, and she's all about, well, the show in general is all about basically portraying men as incompetent, foolish, chauvinistic, and all those things, and any other negative stereotype they can find. So of course the critics absolutely love the show, but the audience hates this show. It's got a 40%. And no, it's not because, she's a woman. Look, there's plenty of shows that have women that are the main protagonists that people like, and movies too. So You know, it's hard to make this argument that all these people are misogynists out there, and then they turn around and they find shows like Extraordinary Attorney Woo and they love it. And look, if you think those don't intersect, I'm kind of the proof that these do intersect. I'm the same person who loves one of these shows. Of course, I love it because it's a well-written show with interesting characters, with actual character arcs, and each character is actually unique, versus this show with basically a lot of 1D male characters, a lot of 1D, maybe 2D female characters, and I'm hard pressed to find any female character that is actually having a real character arc. She-Hulk kinda, but not really. Like, I think I can make the argument that even she hasn't really grown at all in the show yet. In any case, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you seen Extraordinary Attorney Woo? My recommendation is watch this, not that. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, if you want to continue to smash the narrative, then smash the like, subscribe, and share buttons, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.